Good morning, Patriots, comrades, friends, and enemies. How are you today? This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. It is approximately 8:08 a.m. on 1/26/21, and I'm back live on Facebook for the second day. I'm also live on YouTube. It'll be transferred over to Rumble as soon as I get it loaded. Make sure you check me out at the other places around the interwebs because who knows how long I will be here. This is my Rumble account. This is my YouTube account. This is my MeWe account. This is Parler if it ever comes back. I liked Parler. That was the easiest for me to use. Not fond of MeWe. And, MeWe was purging conservative groups. There was a 3%er group that I was added to, and I never really commented or participated, but I did kind of follow the discussion. It's gone. So you can't trust any social media because you just never know. Just never know where that's going to wind up. I hope you all are having a great day. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow, whichever platform you're on. Rumble. If you're watching me on Rumble, make sure you rumble it. Those help me. It helps spread the word out. And somebody may need to hear what I have to say. I try to keep my conversations uplifting. I am a Christian before I am a patriot, but I am a patriot before I'm anything else. I know you're all upset about the flag I have behind me, but that flag will remain as long as our capital, D.C., which that may change too, is occupied by the communist Chinese. And you say, but Mike, they're not occupying the Chinese. Yeah, they are. The Oval Office is occupied by a man who has sold his soul to the Chinese. They even talked about putting Hunter Biden in charge of the DEA. I don't know if that was a joke or what that was, but that came out yesterday. Talk about craziness. But check it out. Facebook is muting me. They're not spreading this thing around organically. So in order for my words to be spread, if you think somebody needs to hear it, you need to share it with them. It's just that simple. They're not going to let our way of thinking get out there. I will try, understand, and people were asking me questions in my feed yesterday about the power being out at the White House and the Capitol. Yes, I saw that. Yes, it was curious. No, I don't have an answer for that. I saw some of the other things going on. I don't have an answer for that either. Very curious, very interesting. I see a lot of things that are happening, and I think that's very curious, very interesting. Mind you, I am going to try to, when I talk about things like that, talk in code so that I can remain as long as possible on this platform. It's not that I'm bowing down to them. I am not. But you all understand where I'm coming from. We are playing on the enemy's playground. But when it comes to that stuff that was being asked about yesterday, I don't have any idea what that means. I don't know if that means there's a strategy involved. I don't know what's going on. I do have something I want to talk about strategy and stuff like that in a minute. But I want to get stuff that happened yesterday. I started out with this. If you're coming on late, it just caught my attention. The most basic form of mind control is repetition. Have you watched the news lately? I haven't, but have you? They repeat the same thing over and over and over again. But there's some things that kind of came out that caught my attention that I just wanted to comment on. For example, I'm a football fan, and somebody says, as we approach another Tom Brady Super Bowl, let's remember he's friends with Trump, and he endorsed Republicans and their policies. Oh, shame on him. While one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generation, Colin Kaepernick, had his career derailed for kneeling during the national anthem. First of all, as much as it pains me to say it, Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Now, I'm not going to say he's the GOAT because I've said many times, if you take Joe Montana and put him on any Super Bowl winning team with Tom Brady, could Joe Montana win the Super Bowl? I think so. But if you take Tom Brady and put him on Joe Montana's Super Bowl winning teams under the same rules, which have changed immensely, could Tom Brady win a Super Bowl? I don't know if Tom Brady could take a hit from Lawrence Taylor. I'm just saying. Totally different games. You can't compare it. You can't say he's greatest of all time because it's a different game now than it was then. He's probably the greatest of his time. I'd have to say that. But as I read here, she says that Colin Kaepernick who was one of the greatest quarterbacks of our generations. Evidently, you don't watch football, dear. Whatever your name was. Yeah, Samantha. You don't watch football because he sucked as a quarterback. He inherited a really good football team with a really good defense. When Smith got injured and he went to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl, and he had a really, really good coach. When they got rid of the coach and the defense fell apart, he won 2, count them, 2 games that season. That's not a good quarterback. That's not even an average quarterback. That's a terrible quarterback. Now, I'll give you an example. You take teams like Peyton Manning was on, as much as it pains me to say it as a Kansas City Chiefs fan. He won several football games with a mediocre team because he was a really good quarterback. Same thing with Tom Brady. He didn't always have the greatest defense, but he was able to win games regardless. Colin Kaepernick lost his gig as a football player because he was an arrogant SOB that couldn't play the game. There, I said it. Ode to Mark Levin. This lady just has no idea. It's not hypocrisy. It's what have you done for me lately? The NFL don't give a darn hoot about Black Lives Matter, all that stuff. It's just about promoting their sport and making money. And let me tell you something. If you ain't winning, you ain't making enough money, they're going to find somebody else who will. What have you done for me? You may have been the greatest. You may have been the contender. You may have been numero uno yesterday, but that doesn't matter today. One thing about the NFL and other major league sports, regardless, just I'm going to throw the politics out, is they are pure merit-based. If you can't perform, out the door you go. There's no, oh, he's a great guy. We really like him. We want to keep him around. Nope, sorry. You can't win games, you're gone. So trying to make politics out of that, and I'm no Tom Brady fan. Who cares if Tom Brady likes Trump? He wins football games. Who cares if Colin Kaepernick kneels? Well, a lot of people evidently, because it cost them a lot of viewerships. But he doesn't. If he was winning football games, nobody would, as far as the NFL concerned, they wouldn't care. He'd still be playing today if he was winning football games. But he's not a very good quarterback, and that's the reality of it. So here's another one I saw. It says, y'all make sure to leave those Biden signs up in your yard so people know where to siphon gas when it gets to $8 per gallon. Well, I don't know if it'll get to 8, but it's definitely going to go up because as you cut it off, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. Hey, make sure to like, comment, and share this because Facebook is suppressing it. That's what they do. YouTube is suppressing it. It's what they do. They don't want this word out there. They don't want this point of view out there. I might say something nice about Donald Trump and something bad about Joe Biden, and they won't like that. This is another one that I saw. Sebastian Gorka. I don't trust him. Anyways, John Solomon says, breaking shock poll. Trump Patriot Party would win almost a quarter of voters. That's not, I bet you that's not GOP voters. I think that's overall voters. Drop GOP to third place. Just the News is reporting. And of course, Sebastian Gorka says, and make sure the Democrats reign forever. And that's the story they tell you. We can't vote for somebody else because we vote for somebody else, it will split the party. And we'll be losers that we are because all we want to do is lose. Let me tell you, since I've been alive, now I became a man in 1989. I joined the United States Army at 18 years old. Actually, I think I enlisted at 17, didn't turn 18 to just before I went in. I went in October. That's about right. Yes. So since I became a man, I've lived through, well, Ronald Reagan was president when I started realizing what presidents were. I lived through George W. Bush, read my lips, no new taxes. I lived through the Newt Gingrich revolution, which the media and the Republican Party crushed. That's right. The Republican Party rejected the contract with America that Newt Gingrich put out. The Republican Party did that because it superseded their power. These Tea Party candidates would come along. The Tea Party arose. It rose from grassroots. It rose because people were sick of it. It rose because people didn't want Obamacare. And it was crushed by the Republican Party. Got to get these right-wing Christian conservatives out of this party. We'll never win again if we keep talking about abortion. That's what they say. We can't have that. I hope you guys have a good cup of coffee today. If you don't got one, go get one. Got my permission. So these people in the Republican Party, every time a grassroots effort, if they just would have embraced the contract with America, if they just would have embraced the Tea Party and the principles that were behind it, there would have been no Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, because they would be a storm of righteous conservative people who love America leading this country. But they didn't. They pounded that down. They joined hands with the Democrats to pound that back down. We can't have average, ordinary people rising up. You know, Mitch McConnell controls the Senate by taking the Republican donations that you give to the Republican Party and going in and hand-picking candidates to primary freedom-thinking Republicans. And then those candidates, when they win and they get up there because the Republicans spend money on them instead of the grassroots guy that's trying to come up, the guy maybe you'd like to vote for, and then he wins the nominee, right? And then what does McConnell do? He leans over to Chucky Schumer and he says, hey, you know, over there in that district, I got this guy and I want to get him up in here. You know, it's already our seat anyway. Could you get some wacko leftist, you know, tree-hugging hippie transvestite to run against him? And they say, yeah, sure, we'll do that for you. Will you help us out over here? He said, yeah, we'll help you out over there. Okay, cool. See, they're playing this game against us. So the party guy wins, the Mitch McConnell guy wins the primary, and your grassroots guy, he's gone. No one ever hears from him again because he can't get any fundraising. And then the Republican guy, the Mitch McConnell guy, is running against Lucifer himself on the Democrat side. So everybody's like, well, we got to vote for the lesser of two evils. Because, well, if that guy gets in, and that guy gets straight into office, the Republican wins in a landslide, he goes up there, new senator, oh, yay, I'm going to be Mr. Conservative. And then he turns right around and becomes Mitt Romney Jr. And you're like, what the heck? That's not what we wanted. No, but it's what they wanted. And they manipulated you into getting it. And that's the way the game's played. That's the way it's always been played. Republicans don't want the power, and they have the responsibility to go with it. No, they just want the office, and the pomp and circumstances, and to eat in a nice cafeteria and get the gold-plated Cadillac healthcare plan and a nice retirement. That's what they want. They want to be able to go around town and be called senator, congressman. Oh, and 10% for the big guy. Don't forget that. Because in order to get things done, you got to pay to play. So when Sebastian Gorka says, and make sure the Democrats reign forever, the game continues. We must vote Republican to keep the Democrats out. Yes, but Republican, Democrat, does it really make a difference? Look at what's happening today. Look at what happened. These principled, conservative, Christian Republicans stood on their principle and demanded that we look into this vote on January 6th until they didn't have to anymore. And then their principle went out the window because, some bad people that we prearranged and set up and made happen stormed the Capitol. So now we don't want to vote for it no more. And the one or two or three that did stand, Ted Cruz, and sometimes Ted Cruz pisses me off because he does the same stuff, but at least he stood. Josh Hawley, they're trying to run him out of town on the rail. And you know who's going to join in with them? The Republicans. So they're upset that Donald Trump might want to start a third party. Oh, whoa. Oh, we can't do that. We can't have that. No, that's just traitorous. Where the hell have you been, Republicans? For the last 4 years, you've done nothing to support this president. When he was president, when we had the House, the Senate, and the White House, you did nothing. You stood in his way. You locked arms with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and said no to the... What if he had ran as a Democrat? See, the Democrats agree in power. They would have, everything he did, they would have loved it because it's about power for them. Republicans don't even want power. I don't know what they want. Who is their master? How much money did you get for the big guy? Really kind of got on my nerves when I read, Sebastian Gorka has been that. Remember when Trump first got in office, he was all Trump, 100% Trump. And then now that he doesn't have to be, he's not. Isn't that amazing? How many? Have you ever noticed, I've listened to Sean Hannity since he set in for Rush Limbaugh. And I've listened to Rush Limbaugh. I've listened to all this stuff. Have you noticed how they're not talking about any of this? COVID-19. Oh, Sean Hannity's been hitting some stuff pretty hard around the perimeter. You know why that is? They've been told not to. Somebody can tell Sean Hannity what to say? Yep. Rush Limbaugh the other day. It was pointed out to me that Cumulus, one of his largest distributors, came to him and said they would drop him if he didn't shut up about election fraud. The other day, he was talking, going on, making a point, a valid point, as he usually does, the best in the business. And he said, at this point, I'm self-censoring myself. And you knew exactly where he was going and exactly what he was going to say. And he was brilliant in making the point that he wanted to make without crossing the line because, hey, he's got to think about his business. He said, I'm self-censoring myself. And that told me everything I know that was true. That he was told that if you continue to talk about these things, we'll drop you. And look what's happening. Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, with a heck of a story from cocaine to pillow magnet. He was taken down on Twitter yesterday because he supports Donald Trump. They're going after Lynn Wood's law license. What country do we live in again? That's why the flag's up. There is no freedom of speech anymore. You're not allowed to say the things or think the things they don't want you to say or think. Repeat the lie often enough. Repeat the lie often enough. No dissenting voice. This is where we're at in this country. This is what we're facing. But Let's switch the subject just a little bit here. So earlier this year, earlier in January, I talked about a guy who's been sending me, I've been talking to on Facebook, he's been sending me messages. He's from Middle Eastern country that went through a color revolution. Mind you, who does color revolutions? That's us. We do that to other countries. In the early 2099, early 2000 era. And he talked about the steps of a color revolution. He talks about what he's seen in his country, and I went through all that. One of the things he pointed out was that what they wanted to do is have an election where there was discontention, where one side didn't agree with the other side, where maybe it wasn't fair, maybe it wasn't right. That's what they were trying to do. And the purpose of that was to get one side or the other to rise up in violent revolution so they could be crushed. And a new form of government can be installed, for your protection and safety, of course, to protect you from these evil, right-wing Christian conservative hillbillies with their Keystone Light and a rebel flag in their pickup trucks. Remember that went around just before the inauguration that they're going to have bring your guns and to the state capitals and to DC, and we're going to rally, and if there's enough, we're going to take it back by force. You remember that? And we were like, it's a trap, don't go. At the inauguration of not on the 6th, but on the 20th, that was supposed to happen. And then they pulled in all these military troops from all over the place. Nancy Pelosi was asking for crew-served weapons. And I was listening to some commentators on our side who had no idea what they were talking about. Oh, they're talking about the 50 BMG. No, they're talking about the M2. It's a difference. I've shot that gun. 240. Or in my case, what I really would enjoy is the Mark 19. Look that one up. But Nancy Pelosi wanted to have these, set up on the Capitol. There's fear there. There's so much fear there. They're scared to death, and they don't know what they're scared to death of. God. And so they want this color revolution. They want our side to rise up. See this number 17, this guy here, he put all that stuff out there, trust the plan. He put all that stuff out there, 10 days of darkness. Oh, it's kind of dark right now. It looks pretty bleak to me. He put all that stuff out there. And one of the things he said was hold the line. Don't react. Be calm. Stay home. Why? Well, that number 17 was just a psyop operation so they could take control and we wouldn't rise up against them. Maybe. Or maybe it was accurate in saying they needed our side to have an armed rebellion to complete the color revolution. And by us not doing that, it's put them in this limbo position where they have a unconstitutional president and an unconstitutional administration, because everybody knows that this election was stolen. They know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. It's obvious. But they need the color revolution to be complete so they can overthrow this government completely and instate a new government, a democratic socialist government, which is communism with balloons and confetti. So they needed this to happen. This is why they're going out. See, this is why in the 2 or 3, 4 days that Joe Biden has been president, he's lost 100,000 jobs. He's talking about raising taxes. He's talking about a mileage tax on your vehicle. He's talking about he's put the trans guys back in the bathrooms. He's doing all these outrageous things that the American people have rejected en masse. That this is both sides are like, no. Why? They're trying to stir that bucket and get the American people to rise up so they can complete their color revolution. That's what they're trying. That's what this trial that's going to go on in the next few days in the Senate is all about. Trying a president, a former president it's unconstitutional, it's completely unconstitutional. But everything we're doing has nothing to do with the Constitution. They want to wipe the Constitution off. They want to cut the Constitution up and use it for toilet paper. It's over as far as they're concerned. The Constitution is nothing but in the way. Think of all the great things they could do if the Constitution wasn't holding them back. So they're going to have this show trial. I was watching TV last night as I lay in bed, and I turned it on to the American Heroes channel. What do they call it now? And they was talking about Hitler. And they was talking about how when Hitler finally got in control, he rounded up a bunch of his enemies and had big show trials where they executed them with piano wire on live broadcast it. Didn't really have TV back then. They had the movie reels and stuff, but they executed these people in these huge Banana Republic show trials. Well, that's what we're going to have this week. We're going to have a Banana Republic show trial. And the main purpose of this, I believe, is to get us all riled up. But God has a way of doing things. I firmly believe 100%. I don't know about the number 17 stuff. I don't know why the lights were out at the White House. I don't know why. Or at the Washington Monument the other night. I don't know what that's about. This is interesting. I don't know what relationship it is that the Italian government collapsed last night, but reports are out that it did. I don't know what that means. There's some connection there, I know. Along with prime ministers and leaders of countries and whole cabinets are resigning in the last few weeks around all over Europe and other places in the world. I don't know why all this is happening. I don't understand everything that comes to that. But I do know this, that God is in control and that he's promised through his prophets, through Kim Clement, through Mark Taylor, through several others, that he's about to do something world changing. It's about to happen. A lot of these guys have talked about the Red Sea moment. They've talked about the Ezekiel time frame. They've talked about that this man Trump, in the vein of Cyrus. Have you ever read the book of Esther? I recommend it highly. You could read it in just a short period of time in the evening before you go to bed. It is an awesome book. I love the book of Esther just because of the drama and the whole thing and the king. The king, he's having a party and he calls for his wife, Queen Vesti, to come out, because she's beautiful and he wants to show her off. And she's like, no, I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. Yeah. Shut up, Google. And so, it was kind of embarrassing for the king, and all the king's men, all the nobles gathered around and said, look, king, you got to do something. Because if your wife could talk to you like that and get away with it, then our wives are going to talk to us like that. We just can't have that anymore. So the king said, that's true. What should I do? So they put the queen away. Now, didn't say killed her, just moved her on. Good to be the king. So then after a while, they said, the king needs a new queen. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to gather up, oh king, if you think this is a good idea, this is what we're going to do. We're going to gather up the most beautiful women in all the kingdom, and we're going to parade them in front of you, and you get to spend an evening with each one of them one at a time until you decide which one you like the best. And the king's like, I think that's a good idea. It's good to be the king. So that's what they did. And make a long story short, he chose Esther, who was a Jew, who was the niece of a guy named Mordecai. And there's a lot of intrigue there, and there's a bad guy named Haman, and he didn't like the Jews, and he doesn't like Mordecai. He's the second in command, and he passes some rules to kill off all the Jews, and it's a terrible situation. And Mordecai comes to Esther and says, you've got to do something about this. God has put you in this position for this reason, for such a time as this. If you hear the prophets of today, they are quoting for such a time as this. See, God did something here. God put people in place for such a time as this. And Mordecai said, look, if you don't do this, God's going to find another way, but you won't survive, even if you're queen. So to go before the king at the time, you couldn't just walk in, because if you walked in and he didn't accept you, it was off with your head. It's good to be the king. You have to put up with things if you don't want to. So anyways, she's standing out in the courtyard and he says, what do you want? And she come in and the king was like, ooh, baby, I'm glad to see you. And she's like, well, oh king, if you really got the hots for me, I need you to come to a party and I need you to bring Haman. So I'm going to read from the party. Okay. Actually, this is the second party. The first party, the king says, what do you want? I'll give you half my kingdom. And he says, I want you to come to another party. So this is the second party. The next day, Haman went home. He bragged to his wife that he got to have dinner with the king and the queen, and we ate and we dined and we drank. It was great. Oh, I'm such a great guy. I'm so awesome. Haman's a bad dude. Wants to kill all the Jews. It was a bad time. There was a proclamation that went out that said that at this particular time that you could go rise up and slaughter all the Jews, because he didn't like Jews. There's a backstory behind that, but we won't get into it. So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. And while they were drinking wine on the second day, the king asked again, Queen Esther, what is your petition? I will give you. It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half my kingdom, it will be granted. Then Queen Esther, if I found favor with you, your majesty, if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition. Spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed and annihilated. If we were merely being sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king. King Xerxes asked the queen, Esther, who is he? Where is the man who dared to do such a thing? Esther said, an adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman, who was sitting in the room at the time. Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage, left his wine, and went out to the palace garden. But Haman, realizing the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The king exclaimed, will you even molest my queen while she's in my house? As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. That means they put a bag over his head. Then Harbodona, I don't know what his name is, Fred, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, a pole reaching the height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He had it set up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king. The king said, impale him on it. So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's fury was subsided. They're going to have a trial for Donald J. Trump to remove him from office that he's already removed from, so that makes no sense. I'm very interesting to see what happens in this trial. It'll be covered by the media, the cameras. It'll get way more views. I'm talking way more views than Joe Biden's inauguration. God took Haman and impaled him on the stake. Others say gallows, other translations, but I like this vision of impaling on a stake, more than hanging, on his own gallows. And furthermore, the king's edict wasn't reversed, because when the king makes a proclamation in the Persian Empire, it's permanent. It can't be changed. But what they did do is they allowed, the king's edict went out to allow the Israelites to gather up arms and defend themselves in any means necessary against the people that were going to attack them, because of Haman's edict that was done with the king's reign. And it ended up happening is they were able to corner these people, slaughter them all, and kill Haman's family, all of them. God turned this around, that not the Jews died, not Queen Esther died, but the enemy and all of his family were gone. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with this trial. I don't know. Maybe nothing. But see, I said this before Christmas. Now, I got caught up in the 17 stuff. And I was like, yeah, buddy, I really wanted something. I didn't want to get to this point where I'm watching Joe Biden as he's stumbling through the day, signing executive orders, destroying America. But here we are. But I said before, Number 17 ain't going to save us. Donald Trump ain't going to save us. The military ain't going to save us. This is going to be a movement of God and a moment that can't be denied. We'll see what happens. Eric Swalwell, the one that was with a honeypot Chinese mistress for a long time. Yeah, he's one of the prosecutors in this trial because, reasons, I guess. I'm very curious to see what happens in this trial. I know I've said that. I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but it's got me very interested. See, God has a way of twisting things around on his enemies. When they think that they have won, that Jesus is finally gone and off, that he's dead, he's in the tomb, it's over. Think about the parallel to that. They were so scared. His servants might come and steal the body away. Better put guards there. So scared of that moment. Such fear in these people at that time of this man, Jesus. When you watch a movie, there's one or two guys standing there, but that's not what they did. They put a garrison there. There was a lot of guys there. As the old Carmen song goes, the stone was rolled away and it bounced a time or two, and an angel stood inside and said, "Yo, I'm Gabriel. Who you?" Oh, you got to look that up. Anyways, that's a 1980s thing. God doesn't need your permission. He doesn't need your belief. He doesn't need any of it. When he's ready to raise Lazarus from the dead, or exalt Jesus to the right hand of the throne, or part the waters of the Red Sea, or bring down fire onto the altar for Ezekiel, or it's Elijah. I don't know. I get the two of them mixed up. If he reaches down and grabs that stone as he's flying through the air to make sure it hits right in the right spot to kill the giant, God could do anything he wants. The universe is his. The laws were created by him. There's nothing you can do. It's a terrible thing to be in the hands of a just God. And we are all in the hands of a just God. And I have a fear something is about to happen. I'm not afraid for me. No. I look forward to it. I look forward to it with glee. I look forward to the hand of God sweeping the enemy from the planet, like he did with Haman and his family and his friends. That in the moment, in the very last moment, this was like a day or so or two before the annihilation of all Israel, God moved. God doesn't have to. One of the things in the prophecies is, I am unconcerned with your calendar. God doesn't even exist in time. Think about that one. I'm unconcerned with your calendar. But something's getting ready to happen. We all know it. We all feel it right down in here. We know. And when it happens, it'll be undeniable who God is. Just like when the waters parted and then fell in on Pharaoh, just like I was talking about yesterday, the world knew what God did for Israel. And when this happens, the world will know what God did for the United States of America. You may not believe in God, but your unbelief is irrelevant in this situation. You may still deny him after the event, but you won't deny that something great happened. I promise you that. Be prepared. Be ready. Because it's about to get good. And I don't know. Maybe next week, next month, next year. I don't know. But we're in that time right now. That prophesized time. We're in the middle of it right now. And it looks dark. It looks bad. God doesn't care about that. He's much bigger. Much bigger. And he's really trying to call out his people to say, who's with me? Who's afraid? Who's going to cower in the corner and who's going to stand? Who's with me? Are you with me? That's what he's saying. He's asking, do you have faith? Do you look at how it appears and then cower in fear and say, oh, I guess God's not real? Or are you going to stand on the word that I have given you? Are you going to stand on the prophecies that I've prophesied on the word that I've proclaimed? Are you going to stand? Or are you going to be like Sebastian Gorka? Not to call him out or anything. Or like some of these other Republicans. Or like some of these Q guys who go, I guess Q isn't real. I guess it's just a psyop operation. We give up. We quit. We lose. Are you going to be like that? God's calling you out right now. He's finding out who is and who ain't. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, and I will stand firm that God can do anything God wants to do. And win, lose, or draw, I stand with God. Just like the houseboys. My shack, your shack in the bungalow. Just like them guys. God is able to save us, but even if he doesn't, we won't bow to you. I stand firm that God's about to move. Be prepared. I've been on here long enough. Hey, they're still suppressing me. I can see it right now. So share the video with your friends and family. Let them know that I'm back on Facebook. You don't have to watch me. You don't have to like me. I don't really care. And if you're on here trolling, I don't really care either. Move along. Go to the next guy. You ain't going to convince me anything other than what I've said. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy this day. Enjoy what's coming. It looks dark. I'm telling you, it looks dark, but it's coming. God is hands about to move. I don't know how. I don't know how it manifests. I don't know what's going to look like. I have no idea what God's going to do. And I guarantee you, all the prognosticators that say it's going to be this way, they don't have a clue either. And they're probably wrong. Because God's bigger than that. And when he does something, he does it. So get ready. You guys have a great day. I will catch you later.